It was definitely a different year, but despite all the obstacles, we were just grateful to have a season. So whatever that looked like, we would take it, but we still tried to make it as positive as you possibly can. We really didn't look at it as like, oh, it's COVID. We kind of looked at it as like, the game doesn't change, right? Like, it's still the same concept, it's still the same approach. Like, we're still gonna practice the same way. We just have a few more guidelines put in place, but the game does not change.
My expectations were not high at all. We had 5 kids playing college basketball for the first time. We had 8 kids total. One of the 8 had not played in 2 years for us. We took the entire month of December off. We were quarantined for 10 days in January when we tried to come back. We literally only had 3 days of practice, full practice, before we played our first game.
Our kids had the choice to either come on campus or take a leave of absence, go online. So that was also another part of like, who is gonna come? Are we gonna have a team? Are we not gonna have a team? That was probably the biggest challenge.
The landscape was changing so much in Division III. It was changing in our conference. It was changing school to school. It was changing in other conferences across the country. You heard of schools that were trying to play. You heard of conferences that were completely shutting down and not playing. So the big question that I got over and over was like, Coach, are we going to play? And my answer until we could play was, I just don't know. And that's not a good answer, but that's kind of the state that we were in.
The biggest challenge for myself and our team and our assistant coaches was just building the relationships with our players. We're very, very big on that. So unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to really build face-to-face with our incoming class. The fall was actually great being off. We never had that option in the past. So it really helped us out. It made it a little bit easier because it allowed our kids, or especially our young kids, to come in, kind of unwind a little bit, get their feet on the ground, had some, fall practices and things like that, and then now go time in spring. So they had 6 months or so to kind of just settle in, where normally we're hitting the ground running come August.
I think the overall thought was, let's just kind of use this as a little bit of a practice year and just get better individually for the future. There's such a big difference between playing 25 games and 10 games. So we just kind of try to treat it as a little bit more of a, let's improve, let's get better, let's have fun, and let's kind of worry about the team building and the team aspect when we have a full team back together again. And just try to improve individually, and I think the guys did a good job of that.
COVID and the recruiting end of things just kept putting a little bit of a different spin on it. Really hasn't changed how we approached things. That pretty much stayed. It was just, unfortunately, our kids weren't allowed to come on campus. So we had our student athletes walk around on a day. So they're going to class and then they're eating. And so just, again, kind of give them a glimpse into it. We tried to be as creative as we possibly could, and really stepped up in the social media realm, just because we knew that was one thing that they could still have access to.
Towards recruiting, that was probably the one area that was the most affected for me. We were not allowed to go anywhere. We were not allowed to travel, to go see players. A lot of the players that we end up recruiting can't afford a camera or can't afford a company or somebody to actually film the games. And with a sport like soccer, I cannot just rely on stats.
Normally, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, we can get out to a high school game and go watch a kid and evaluate a kid. And the key word there is just evaluation. We just didn't have any in-person evaluations. We couldn't go to a game and see a recruit live with our own eyes.
For my career in the future, I think this pandemic actually helped me being a lot more flexible, more open-minded to things, and not being caught up on one type of plan. You know, being a lot more adaptable, and that was good.
It's probably one of my best seasons, not because of the wins and everything else, which is great, but it was just the interaction was different. It was on a different level, and it's hard to explain.
I'm just excited for a normal number of games, like a normal schedule. Even though we played this spring, it was only 6 games, so it wasn't that much.
Sure, there's guidelines and restrictions on campus, but you have to look at the positive, and that means that you're here, you're growing, you're learning, we're able to play a season.
Just hoping for less worries and more certainty.
We're going to go from maybe a state of not knowing to there's going to be some excitement in the fall of hopefully getting back to normal, and there's going to be some excitement on all of our kids' behalf that they just want to play again.